This is amazing. I get to introduce Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees, Pearl Jam. Yes, you heard me, Pearl Jam. They have a long-standing commitment to activism, going back to their very origin as a band. Now, they've been together for over 30 years, which is weird because I'm only 25, but then again, I'm black, so black don't crack, so I actually could be 87. You don't know. Now, each of those years, they have made great music and they've been deeply engaged in their communities as activists and as philanthropists from Seattle to Montana, all across the country and all across the globe. Please welcome Eddie Vedder, Jeff Ament, Mike McCready, and Stone Gossard. Ladies and gentlemen, Pearl Jam.
Hey, Wayne. Hey, Lynn.
Hey, fellas.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Thanks, Wayne. Hey, Wayne, that's awesome. Thank you.
Hey, man. Okay, so let's just jump into this right now. When Lynn reached out and when I saw the email that said Lin-Manuel Miranda and Pearl Jam, I have to admit, I was like, what the hell? Sure, it's two great tastes that go great together, but I would not think of it until I put the activism piece into it. But I have to know, for this to come together, Lynn, you had to have been a fan of Pearl Jam's, right?
Massive fan. The first album came out when I was about 13 years old, and that's when you have the most feelings, and that's when music means the most to you. And so, fan from the first album and ever since. And I have a confession to make. You guys don't even know this and didn't want to tell you until we were live in front of all these people. But I actually used a Pearl Jam song in a musical I wrote in college. I wrote a 90s jukebox musical in college, and if Life is Fair, you will never see it because it's not very good.
Let's
but
go to YouTube.
The opening number was Jeremy. That was the opening number to the musical, and the closing number was Black Hole Sun, and we weaved Jeremy through Black Hole Sun as a reprise. So it was also a Secret Temple of the Dog reunion that only existed in my mind. In my show, but it works really well actually if you play the Black Hole Sun chords and sing "Whoa" over it. It actually it counts as a nice reprise.
Now I've got to ask Eddie. So of course, Lynn, 13-year-old Lynn, is expressing all of his feelings to your music. Fast forward years and years, what made you aware of Lynn?
Well, I had definitely seen the play. It was after he had turned it over to the next round of amazing people. But we did an event similar to this maybe a few weeks ago, encouraging voters and everybody that we needed on board and on deck, and everybody to be active. And we met we met so many nice people that day, but this incredible man named Luis, who is Lynn's father. And, I thought if I were ever to reach out to Lin-Manuel, I having seen his work and knowing his work and my family's deep connection to his work and this epic, this piece that he's written that's really changed the world. And I have that's Hamilton. That's behind me there. In case, I think there's about 6 people that don't know of it. I just wanted to make sure we got to them. But we meet Luis, and Luis was so incredible and so had the energy that I had when we first started the band. and I thought, well, if he's that amazing, then Lin-Manuel's got to be okay. So if we get a chance to meet him, I'm in. He couldn't be that bad.
So we have Dad to thank. Nice.
Yeah, exactly as I pictured it when I was 13 years old.
Your plan came together, Lynn.
You have to understand how my response, which was my dad goes, "I met these guys, Pearl Jam. They're great." Which is a weird sentence to hear your father ever say to you.
So Eddie, I know that you're a fan, and I'm assuming that your family fans, of course. But I'm reading this. It says that your dog is a Hamilton fan.
Well, he was. It was more of a photo op.
He was pressed into
gotcha.
service.
Are we cutting to something? Is that what we're? We went as Hamilton. Well, we didn't go anywhere. We stayed in the neighborhood, but we were dressed as Hamilton.
For
Our
Halloween?
family. Who was it? It was. I was Alexander Hamilton. Mama was Angelica, Peggy, and then he had Eliza, and then our dog Tycho was King George. That's right. So with
And
full
probably
regalia.
drooled less than Jonathan Groff did.
Facts.
Ouch.
So see,
But yeah, was there a photo of that? I thought they were going to show a photo. That was kind
yeah,
of
I think that's the whole
punchline, but-
purpose. Just so people, yes, there's a photo. I think the people at home saw it.
Well-
This is where my disclaimer is. Like I said in the beginning, this is why I make most of my stuff up. I'm going to throw whoever wrote that question under the bus. I'll be completely real. It said to ask you about your dog. I would have asked you what your family dressed as for Halloween, and we would have seen the photo op. So if anything comes out of my mouth that doesn't sound like I said it, know that it was written and I really didn't say it, but now I'm going to say it. Boom. So Eddie, to kick us off, question for you. Do you have any questions for Lynn?
I do. I was thinking, Lynn, I thought we would just get through a few quick ones before it gets deep and heavy. And we just talked to some incredible activists that have been on the ground and been working really since the 2 years ago and maybe even longer, down in Florida, down in the Southeast, down in Georgia. But first, just a couple quick, easy ones. Was that, well, I'm curious, did you sing before you wrote? Were you singing before you started to write what you ended up singing?
Yeah. I was making up songs. The first song that I wrote, I was 3 or 4, and I made up a song called "The Garbage Pail Kids Are in Town," and it was just me singing about all the different garbage pail kids and how they were coming to town, and you better watch out. I was like 4 or 5 when I made that up, and then I started taking piano lessons around 6 or 7, and my son is 6 and he's just started taking piano lessons, and just like me, he hates to practice but likes noodling around, and I think that's a pretty good recipe for a songwriter.
Well, yeah, I thought, I know some people might know it already, but I think the hard thing is that people have something inside themselves, but they just don't know where to start, or where does it start, or they think that, they have to feel special even before they start. It's like it's a little seed can take you incredible places, including starting with the Garbage Pail Kids. So
Yeah.
it's just it's really the beginning. But I think when you get the fever and then you start to be able to entertain yourself, and then you do that long enough, and then you humbly share it with others. That's a big step. But so the first song written for Hamilton, was there one particular song that was finished, or were they all kind of in different stages of osmosis and kind of growth, or was there one that really finished and you thought that was the linchpin?
Well, it's interesting on Hamilton, right? It was the first time I wasn't writing something that was, that sort of dealt with real people who lived in the world and real information I had to learn before I could filter it and it could come through in some kind of musical form. Within the Heights, I was writing about my neighborhood and characters that Kiara and I, my co-writer, invented. So they said whatever we wanted them to say. But with Hamilton, it was a lot of research first and a lot of digesting, and that was the hard part. I was never better than a B student, and suddenly I'm trying to articulate these worldviews it felt very above my pay grade a lot of the time. But I think the it took me a few months just to write the opening number, and the opening number really is a compression of the first two chapters of Ron Chernow's book. It was like, all right, let me see if I can get him. My challenge to myself was, can I get him from birth to on the boat to New York by the end of the song?
Wow.
It was sort of
Wow.
like, that was the lyrical question. And then my shot.
And that's less than 6 minutes. That's
6
about...
months to write. 6 months to write.
Oh no, but the song is 6 minutes.
Oh yeah,
You're
the song.
getting...
Yeah, the song's about. Yeah, the song's like four or 5 minutes. But yeah, it was. That was the challenge. It's sort of like, I'm sure you've done this. Is like you pose a challenge to yourself with the song. Can I do this with the song? And then can I meet it? And with my shot, the challenge to myself was, can Hamilton prove he's the smartest guy in the room to a bunch of other very smart people? And so I kept working on the lyrics and like, okay, it rhymes in 3 places. Can it rhyme in 6 places? Can it rhyme in 8 places? Just like my favorite hip hop artists who, have those multi-syllabic, brilliant lyrics. And then I was so scared of committing music to that. That was one of the few songs. Usually music and lyrics, they're kind of in conversation with each other the whole time. But I had those 2 verses written for months before I ever put my hands on the piano, because I didn't want, once I committed, I was in. And then we were really sort of off and running. But I'm curious, can I like reverse the question really quickly?
No.
No.
I have to stay on this tangent.
Okay.
I'm sorry, with all respect.
All right.
Because you just said something. Now I'm thinking about how something that I was so moved by, and I think everybody, you don't even really think about it because that's how good it is. But the way you represent women and their struggles and conflict and relationships with each other, with other women, with the men. Now this is what got me thinking. Now, where did you get that research?
Well,
how did you study the women?
That's the tricky thing is, that's where the bias comes in, because there aren't that many books about Eliza Hamilton or Angelica Schuyler Church. What we have is their correspondence. And I got a lot of inspiration from the letters that they wrote to each other and the letters that they wrote to Hamilton. They were incredibly witty. They're incredibly smart. Angelica Schuyler is the smartest character in the show because Hamilton's smart, but he needs everyone to know how smart he is. Angelica sees Hamilton, reads him, and makes a decision sort of instantly in our show, and then breaks down for us how she made the decision and why she regrets the decision, all in sort of this one stroke. And her letters sort of portray that too. She's really smart, and in a fairer world, we'd be talking about vice president or president Angelica, but that's just not the way the world worked back then.
Okay, great. And then a quick couple more. I've been fortunate enough to have be in the company of Barack and Michelle, and it was with a large amount of pride that they would mention that the first time that you performed any pieces, and I think I'm getting this right, from Hamilton, before it was Hamilton, I believe, was at the White House. Would you tell me how that felt?
To this day, the scariest day of my life. I had, they invited me to perform something. They were doing the first spoken word and poetry jam at the White House. This is May of 2009. They had just sort of taken office, and the invitation was to do something from In the Heights. That was my show that was running on Broadway. I had just written the 16 bars that sort of comprised the opening number, and they said, unless you have something about the American experience that you feel like would be appropriate for the evening. And I was like, well, I have these 16 bars about Alexander Hamilton, and if they don't work in this room, maybe I'll just sort of put it in a drawer and I have a better idea later. But I just thought, what, and again, I laugh now because I'm probably more afraid now than I was when I was 28 years old. You know, let me try it out. Let me try this out at the White House. And then the day I got there, I was like, this is a terrible, no one besides my girlfriend has heard this song, and I'm trying it out in the East Room. I brought Alex Lacamoire, who's my music director, with me, and that gave me courage. But it was to this day the scariest day of my life, and you can see it. You see me stuttering if you watch the footage. I'm stuttering until the song starts. Once the song starts, I'm locked in and I can deliver the goods. But I'm stammering, and I'm not much of a stammerer, but I was really scared that day, and it went well. And I'm glad that they get to brag about that now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's some guts. That's an intense spot. And then it must have to the relief to have gotten through it. And then to have him, so both of them afterwards to say, you know, like, wow, that was really good. That was really, really good. You know, it was worth the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Push
it worked
yourself.
out. It worked. Yeah. I definitely jumped out of the plane without the parachute. Was, you know, and then, you know, because that video went online and had a life of its own, I was like, oh, I really got to finish the thing. It was also sort of a way of forcing myself to, you know, because I said it at the White House. I can't make a liar out of myself. So yeah.
Wow. So that was a formidable, wow. And
yeah,
wow,
because that was all
really,
that existed was those 16 bars at that point.
Just the first 16.
Yeah, I hadn't written anything else yet.
What a galvanizing experience. Okay, last one and then
good, because I have so many questions.
Okay, thanks for indulging me, and you know, I think people want to hear from you. Okay, how old were you when you won was it the MacArthur Genius Award? How old were you? I've never met anyone who won a Genius Award. I mean, you know, you think there'd be one in the group, but no. I would nominate Jeff Ament, but the MacArthur, was it the MacArthur Genius Award?
Yeah, the MacArthur Fellowship.
Fellowship. Okay, and then how old were you? And then also, next year, do you anticipate being the first person to have won the Genius Award and also be voted sexiest man alive?
Oh my gracious! Who wrote these questions? I will tell you that when I found out I'd won that award, it was literally the week after we'd finished paying off my wife's student loans. So my first instinct was, "Where were you last week?" But it was, you know, it was like a vote of confidence from the universe and the good folks at MacArthur. But also silly because everyone who knows me would call me and my wife saying, "Was this award meant for your wife? Did they put the wrong name on the thing?" That was pretty much the party line around my group of friends. Okay, I get to ask some Pearl Jam questions now, right? Please say yes.